If we're serious about pursuing a faithful and flourishing Christian school, and we want to do that well, we obviously have to be thinking about the teaching and learning. And this comes down to the question of why a Christian school in the first place. If you're talking to different prospective families, and even if you look on YouTube, you will find that's one of the most talked about topics. There are more videos on Christian education, on the why of Christian education, than probably any other topic. If you just type in Christian school, you'll find a bunch of videos comparing uh, Christian school versus public school and helping parents kind of grapple with that decision and the like. And when you look at that, one of the things that you'll find is that have been multiple studies conducted that suggest that between 60 and 70% of 18 to 30-year-olds are leaving the church today. And when they look at the reasons why, there are a lot of intellectual reasons that are listed. Now, of course, there are relational reasons and other things are going on there as well. But oftentimes, there's this sense that the church is not a place where you can ask the tough questions and people will help you explore the answers in meaningful ways. And there's also this sense that they don't feel like the church has shown them how to think deeply or substantially about critical topics and questions. And so there are a lot of unanswered intellectual questions that can cultivate a bit of doubt over time and that can grow. And so when you look at the stats, if 70% of 18 to 30-year-olds are leaving the church by the time they turn 30, and a lot during their college years, what is it about the 30 or 40% who stick around? And of course, they have Christian role models and examples. They're regularly engaged in the life of the church. They have Christian peers, those things that we might expect. But there's another aspect that is really, really important. And it seems to be one of the more significant factors. And it's that the young people whose faith remains vibrant, they remain active and engaged in the church after they get through K-12 education and after they get through college, is that along the way, they've experienced deep, substantial, what's called disciplinary discipleship. And disciplinary discipleship is, we think about discipleship is about nurturing one in exploring what it means to be a follower of Jesus and growing in their knowledge of God's word and the application of God's word in their daily lives. And disciplinary discipleship then would be helping people explore, if you want to be a biologist, what does it look like to be a Christian who is a world-class biologist, that you know the field as well or better than anyone else, and you also have been guided through the unanswered questions and those areas where the scientific claims seem to clash with biblical truth claims. And there's been a Christian who's very knowledgeable, who's an expert, who's walked the path before you, who can guide you through it and can help you think through it over time. It's not like a one-time lesson or a book that they suggest to you and you read, but you're seeing them as a Christian who's a world-class biologist, and they're guiding you and mentoring you. And there's that kind of experience. Same thing with being an artist or a chemist or a lawyer or doctor or whatever the discipline or the field might be, but to see examples of other Christians who can show you what it means to think deeply as a Christian and to hone your craft um, in a really substantial, significant way, and to pursue true excellence that would be respected in and outside of the church. You have committed yourself to that discipline so well. And again, helping you understand what God's word has to say about these matters. And sometimes there are unanswered questions and ones we just won't know this side of heaven. But oftentimes there have been very, very thoughtful Christians over the years who've done some great thinking and great work on these topics. And these mentors, this disciplinary discipleship, that can help you think through those things. That's something that I would say that we are not doing as much, especially on the K-12 education level. If you go to Christian universities, some Christian universities are doing that really well. Some are not doing it quite as deliberately or intentionally. But on the K-12 level, I would say that if you want to be a faithful and flourishing Christian school that's equipping students for faith in life wherever they're going to go, whether they go into military or the workforce, or they go into college right afterward, is having teachers who have this kind of disciplinary discipleship mindset, thinking about professional development for those teachers to help them learn about what it means to be a Christian who is an artist and an artist who is a Christian, what it means to be an historian who is a Christian who is an historian, and go through all the different disciplines and fields of study. Same thing about physical education and fitness and caring for your body and being an athlete and all of those different aspects and areas. Having coaches, having teachers and professors who do this in an intentional, deliberate way. In fact, I talked about discipleship, but sometimes I'm a bigger fan of the phrase disciplinary catechesis, because catechesis is a historic term and it tends to be a much more sort of systematic type of thing, whereas discipleship is a bit more holistic and broader. Both are good and important, but it's important to have a kind of sequence and a kind of formal guidance over weeks, months, and years to help one develop habits of the mind and ways of thinking about these things. There's that wonderful passage in Philippians 4:8 about whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, commendable, if there's anything excellent or worthy of praise, think about these things. And then Paul goes on and he says, what you have learned from me, what you've received from me, what you've heard from me, what you've seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. In other words, there is a kind of, Paul is sort of giving him a kind of way of discipleship. Think about good things. Think about the things that are good, true, right, noble, admirable, praiseworthy, lovely, and also put into practice these things. And that's what disciplinary discipleship does. That's what a high impact Christian education does for young people, is it's surrounding them with teachers who are capable and willing and excited to guide students down that path.